He's thinking, has she got holes in her socks?
She's putting her work boots on. She wants millions more to do the same.
Let's see how the expert does it now.
Apprenticeships like these, managed by Peterborough College, training or education opportunities will be offered to every 18 to 21-year-old in England under plans unveiled by the Work and Pensions Secretary today. All part of a £240 million investment programme to get some of the 9 million out of a job or not looking for one back to work.
You just feel so depressed.
It wasn't the major surgery or relearning to walk that impacted Megan's mental health, but due to chronic back pain, losing the only job she could get at 19 and spending the next year unemployed.
It's the worst thing when you don't have a job or you're not in education, because all you want to do is be in bed.
Thanks to a scheme run by the King's Trust, similar schemes which will get more funding due to today's announcement, Megan is now a healthcare assistant at Great Ormond Street Hospital and plans to train as a nurse. 4 years ago, would nursing have been a possibility at all?
No, definitely not. I'd probably be imagining this is what I'm doing, and I am doing it. I proved myself wrong.
Job centres will be rebranded as the National Jobs and Careers Service, and mental health support is to be expanded. The plan, an employment rate of 80%, 2 million more in work, but giving with one hand often entails taking with the other.
Are you going to be cutting benefits?
We're going to be getting people back to work.
We're very supportive of efforts to improve the support disabled people can have. That said, we know there are lots of disabled people who are worried and anxious and do not trust the Department for Work and Pensions or the Job Centre. So, we are concerned about how this will land with some disabled people who are not able to work.
It's a bold bet for the government. At stake, the nation's health, wealth and their own economic credibility.
And Paul joins me now in Westminster. Big plans, but we've heard something similar before, haven't we?
You're not the first to ponder that, but look, what they've set out in here almost incorporates all government departments. A few moments ago, the vaping bill passed through Parliament, which means that anyone under 15 will never be able to buy a tobacco product. That's touched on in here because heart and lung conditions are such a big problem. But look, getting people to work is a problem for the entire government because Labour have staked the nation's finances on growing the economy. That needs workers. The question then is, when are we going to see 80% of an 80% employment rate? That's the first thing I asked the Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall when I sat down with her earlier on.
That's a decade-long ambition, and it is really, really ambitious. It would put us right at the top of the international league table, 2 million more people into work. We've got to join up work, health and skills to get Britain back to health and back to work.
Aren't you making that 80% target harder to achieve, though, by raising national insurance contributions for employers?
I understand that businesses have pressure on them, but I would also say to businesses, if you have ever gone in to run a business or a public sector organisation and you are spending more than you earn, you're never going to succeed. You've got to balance the books. That's what Rachel Reeves did.
I understand the pitch, but the CBI, the Confederation of British Industry, has said that tax rises in your budget have made it, quote, more difficult for firms to take a chance. That's to take a chance on any employee, let alone an employee with more complex needs. So aren't you undermining your own policy here?
I don't think so, because I think at the heart of the budget was just levelling with the public to say we're not balancing the books.
Earlier this year, the previous government, the Conservative, announced changes to the work capability assessments aimed at reducing the bill by £1.3 billion. Are you keeping those changes in place?
We will make the savings, but we will bring forward our own reforms to the sickness and disability
But you're still
system.
looking at £1.3 billion being slashed from the bill.
We will make those savings, but I think the system does need reform, and I want to be very careful about this because there will be millions of people watching who will be worried, and I don't blame them for being worried after 14 years of the Tories. They're worried about their benefits. But many disabled people will say to me, firstly, they face big barriers to getting into work. Secondly, that the system, feels awful when you're going through it. But I also think the system, there's two other big issues with the system. The first is this sort of very narrow categorisation between those who can work and those who can't, when many people will say their health condition fluctuates.
So do you think there are people that can work that aren't working?
No, I think that there are periods in your life when you're your problem becomes worse, and you have to take a break. And we need to have a system that better recognises that. And the second and really important thing is that 90% of people who are off work due to sickness, 90% of them get back within the first year. So that first year of support is really important. But currently, the system doesn't pile in with that help to keep you in work or get you back to work.
But you're still looking at a massive reduction in the welfare bill. The Resolution Foundation says that more than 400,000 people could lose as much as £400 a month. That will put them into poverty. You'll be responsible for putting people into poverty.
Those were the Conservatives' proposals, not ours.
But you're still going to shed the £1.3 billion from the bill.
We will bring forward our own proposals, which start with a very different premise, which is believing in the equal rights of disabled people, including to work.
The white paper mentions, quote, mutual obligations. It then goes on to say that all of this will be underpinned by a clear expectation that job seekers do all they can to look for work. If they don't, what then? Sanctions?
Well, that's on the youth guarantee. We've been really honest about that, to say we will bust a gut to transform the opportunities for you to be earning or learning, but in return you have a responsibility to take them up. And that does mean conditions in the system, and if people repeatedly refuse to engage, that will mean sanctions.
Looking through this report, you're putting a lot of onus here on prisons, on the NHS, on local authorities. All systems that are creaking at the seams at the moment. What faith can the nation have that you'll actually be able to deliver any of this?
We've got to join this up. It is not rocket science to say we've got to have much better, closer working between these different parts of the system, because you know what? The young people who've been excluded or haven't got on at school, who drop out, who then don't get work, these are the root causes of the problem that we've got to tackle. We've got to join up that support. We've got to shift the focus to prevention.
There's lofty ambitions.
It is, but you know, I am ambitious. I'm in politics to succeed, and that's what I intend to do.